Welcome back to the Current Electric High School Basketball Boys State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy. I am Mike McGivern alongside my co-host, the longtime boys coach at Greendale Martin Luther. He's Coach Paul Wallersheim. We're just minutes away from the Division III tip-off as Freedom takes on Elk Mound. So let's look at tonight's second Division IV matchup as Mineral Point takes on La Crosse Aquinas. We're going to start with the Pointers from Mineral Point, defending Division IV state champions, 27-1 overall this year. They won the Southwest Wisconsin Activities League Conference, and they are coached by 30-year veteran Dan Burrison. Dan talks about why he sets up the toughest non-conference schedule that he can.
We do try to challenge ourselves, and this winter was no exception to that. Plus the fact that, you get to play on a bigger floor, and hopefully you have that opportunity like we'll have this week. But playing the Edgertons and the Dominicans, I just believe it can do nothing but get you better. And, you're going to see a variety of things at the WBY, and I think it's helped us along the way so far, and hopefully it'll continue to do that.
A veteran coach, knowing again, and we had talked about this earlier in the show, Paul, that he's got a team that's got a chance to get to state. And so he plays a really tough non-conference schedule. And he talked a lot about coming down for the WBY shootout and how important that is to get this team prepared to play on a bigger court and play against some competition that they normally wouldn't play. And Mark Miller does that really, really well for teams from all over the state. I know that you're a big fan of what Mark does with that.
Yeah, the tournament is second to none, of course, at Concordia and Mequon. But yeah, win or lose those games, you find out a lot about your team. In 2019, when we won the state championship, we had two games there against Brook East and Brook Central.
Right.
Lost both, but we found out a lot about our team. We saw what we need to work on, and then you have January, February to get ready for the state tournament. And so it is a great it's a great test, and it's a great place to find out your weaknesses. That's what you really want to find out, because if you're not playing teams that challenge you and can expose your weaknesses, you really can't be completely prepared for the playoffs. And I mean, you look, they didn't have a close game in the playoffs. They just rolled right through the playoffs to get to this point. They'll have a game here, coming up against Aquinas for sure.
They will, and the Pointers are going to take on the Blue Gulls from La Crosse Aquinas. La Crosse Aquinas 24-3 overall. They tied for first place in the Mississippi Valley Conference and are coached by Brad Reinhardt, his 9th year as a head coach. And Brad talks about the matchup with Mineral Point.
Dan does an awesome job with that program. I mean, they've got a winning culture. They've got a system in place of what they do, and their floor spacing and reads offensively are really clean. Defensively, they've got length and athleticism to really bother some teams. I think we're two teams that kind of complement each other really well. So I like the matchup. I like our ability to match up on what they have. They have a scary ability to make shots, and where some teams are a little bit more patient and are waiting for a clean opportunity to come their way. They've got some kids that are really capable of making shots, contested, tough shots. And so when those are going in, those are scary games to play. So we're going to have to be really solid defensively and really, really tight to our scheme defensively to make sure that they're not shaking loose for easy ones.
Two programs, rich history of basketball. La Crosse Aquinas has had a lot of success over the years in basketball, and Mineral Point and Coach Burson have had a ton of success. And I'm looking forward to this game when a lot of times on press conferences you get a lot of coach speak. And when you talk to the coach from La Crosse Aquinas, and he says, look, I think we match up pretty well with them. I think we got a chance to do some of the things that are going to cause some problems for them. But when you talk about a program like Mineral Point and Coach Burson, who's been around a long time, Look, nothing's going to surprise him, and I think Lacrosse Aquinas is a team that's going to give Mineral Point all the issues that they can. And when you're the team that's always hunted like a Mineral Point and Lacrosse Aquinas in that conference, you're used to teams giving you the best shot that they can.
You know, the Coach Reinhardt talking about the culture and tradition at Mineral Point, and Aquinas, same thing. Big time tradition at that school, a tradition of winning. And I mean, you take a look at the conference they play in. I mean, similar to the Prairie School, you have some, you know, La Crosse Central, Onalaska, Holman, and they won the conference. They tied with a couple of those teams for a conference championship. This is another team that falls into D4 after playing teams from D2 and D3 all season long, and it's a huge help. And they've gone 24-3.
Right.
This is really a great matchup.
Yeah, Crosse Aquinas is led by Logan Becker, and he's a kid that is averaging about 16 a game. And then two players, a couple of brothers, in fact, Calvin Barr and Trayton Barr, that are both averaging around 14 a game. It's a team that has had a lot of success, and when you watch their coach confidently say, Mineral Point's really good. Size, they knock down shots, but I think we match up really well with them. It looks to me like he's a very confident coach, and it comes from, I think, playing in that conference, Coach.
There's no doubt. When you play against these bigger schools, they just have they have bigger kids, you know, more kids, more bigger kids, more better players at the D2 and D3 level, and they're playing against those teams and beating them all season. That gives you confidence going into these games. And you know, Mineral Point did play a really good schedule this year. There's no doubt about that. But they have not been tested in a while. And so when you put a run together, and then the other team just comes right back and matches that can, you know, it can be a little bit deflating. And you understand, we got to keep doing this. Usually we make that run, we get up 10, the team goes away, they keep coming back at us. And so it's a really good matchup. Aquinas is not going to be intimidated by Mineral Point. Mineral Point is the defending state champs. They return some of those same players. They've got a coach who's been there for 30 years. Just a really good matchup.
It's going to be interesting to see if Aquinas can get up by 5, 6, 7, 8, or even double digits at one point. How Mineral Point, like you had said, hasn't been tested in a while.
Right.
How they react. If Mineral Point has to take that first timeout, whether it's before the TV timeout or just after, but if he's got to take a timeout to settle his kids and maybe make some adjustments, it'd be interesting to see how they would react in that scenario.
At Christmas, that is exactly what happened against Dominican. They found themselves down. Dominican hit some threes early, found themselves down, and they kept plugging away. So based on what I saw at Christmas, I think they're going to be fine.
Right.
But it's been a little bit, at least through the playoffs, where they haven't been tested. But Coach Burrison's going to have his team ready. They've been there before, and the Aquinas team with Coach Reinhardt, they've been playing these games all season long.
It'll be a really good Division IV game to watch. We're going to get to a break. We're just minutes away from the first Division III state semifinal game. This is the Colonel Electric High School Basketball Boys State Championship Preview Show presented by Cannon and Dunphy, only on My 24.